Welcome to MarkGuy, where we explore self-improvement, motivation, habits, mindset. In today's episode, we're discussing how to handle a woman who hurts you. You know what no one tells you about emotional pain? It's not the betrayal that destroys you. It's the hope that she'll become who you thought she was. That gap between illusion and reality? That's where men lose themselves. Picture this. It's 2:47 a.m. You're sitting in your kitchen, the only light coming from your phone screen. She posted another photo 3 hours ago, smiling, thriving, surrounded by people who don't know what you know. The caption reads something about new beginnings and finding herself. Your chest tightens. Not from anger, but from something worse. The realization that while you're drowning in the wreckage, she's already sailing away. The coffee maker hums in the corner, preparing your fourth cup since midnight. You scroll through old messages, looking for clues you missed, red flags you ignored. Each text is a small knife, each memory a twist of the blade. This isn't heartbreak anymore. This is archaeology digging through the ruins of who you used to be. Let me paint you the psychological landscape here. When a woman hurts you, whether through betrayal, manipulation, or simple emotional abandonment, your brain doesn't just process it as loss. It processes it as a fundamental challenge to your identity. See, men often build their self-worth through external validation, especially romantic validation. It's not weakness, it's wiring. Your brain's reward system, the same one that helped your ancestors survive by forming strong pair bonds, now works against you. Every memory with her triggers dopamine pathways that were carved deep through repetition. You're not just missing her, you're going through legitimate chemical withdrawal. But here's where it gets darker. The phenomenon psychologists call cognitive dissonance kicks in with brutal efficiency. Your mind can't reconcile two opposing truths: that someone you loved could hurt you this badly, and that you chose to love someone capable of this hurt. So what does your brain do? It rewrites history. Either she becomes a complete villain, which feels satisfying but keeps you stuck, or you become the villain in your own story, which feels familiar but destroys you from within. Most men choose the second option without realizing it. They internalize the hurt as evidence of their own inadequacy. If I had been better, stronger, more successful, she wouldn't have. Sound familiar? This is phase one, the collapse. You're not just grieving the relationship, you're grieving the future you imagined, the version of yourself you were with her, and most painfully, the story you told yourself about who she was. Your brain, desperate for coherence, starts playing detective. You analyze every conversation, every gesture, every moment of distance. You become a forensic expert in your own heartbreak. But here's the thing about investigating emotional crimes. The evidence always points back to you, because you're the only suspect you can prosecute. Phase two arrives like a fever breaking, the anger. This isn't the clean, purposeful anger of injustice. This is the messy, humiliating anger of someone who gave their power away and wants it back. You might fantasize about confrontation, about making her see what she's done, about some grand gesture that forces acknowledgement. But what you're really angry about isn't what she did. It's what you allowed. The anger isn't directed at her. It's directed at the part of you that saw the signs and stayed anyway. The part that made excuses. The part that believed love could fix what was already broken. Here's a psychological truth that will sting. Intermittent reinforcement creates the strongest behavioral patterns. Casinos know this. Social media companies know this. And whether consciously or not, she knew this too. The inconsistent affection, the unpredictable warmth followed by distance, the moments of connection, followed by withdrawal. Your brain interpreted this variability as excitement, as passion, as love worth fighting for. You weren't falling in love, you were getting addicted to uncertainty. And like any addiction, the withdrawal is brutal. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly peaceful in that relationship? Not happy peaceful. When could you exhale completely knowing you were safe, valued, consistent in her eyes? If you're honest, really honest, you'll realize you were always performing, always adjusting, always trying to decode what would keep her interested. You became a shapeshifter in your own life, and now that she's gone, you're left with a shape that doesn't fit anywhere. This isn't about romance, it's about wiring. Your nervous system, after months or years of hypervigilance, doesn't know how to downregulate. You check your phone compulsively, not because you want to hear from her, but because your brain is still running the old program. Scan for threats, scan for opportunities, scan for signs. The silence isn't peaceful, it's deafening. The freedom isn't liberating, it's terrifying. Because who are you when you're not trying to be enough for someone else? Phase 3 is where most men get stuck. The negotiation. This is where you start telling yourself stories about transformation. Maybe if I become successful enough, fit enough, confident enough, she'll see what she lost. You hit the gym with vengeance. You throw yourself into work. You post strategic photos showing how well you're doing. But here's the cold truth. You're still dancing for an audience of one. Every rep, every achievement, every carefully crafted image is a message in a bottle to someone who isn't looking for mail. You're not healing, you're performing healing. And the audience you're performing for, she's already left the theater. Let me tell you what's really happening in her world while you're destroying yourself with hope. She's not thinking about you the way you're thinking about her. The mental real estate you occupy in her mind is a fraction of what she occupies in yours. This isn't cruelty, it's psychology. Women typically process emotional transitions differently. They often begin detaching emotionally long before the relationship ends physically. By the time she hurt you, she had already grieved the relationship, already imagined life without you, already started building that life in small ways you never noticed. While you're in phase 1, she's in phase 5. While you're asking why, she's already answered and moved on. Does this make her cold? No, it makes her human, operating from her own psychological framework, her own survival mechanisms, her own story where, and this is important, she's not the villain. In her narrative, she's the protagonist who finally chose herself, who escaped something that wasn't working, who had the courage to pursue happiness. The hurt she caused you? In her story, it's unfortunate collateral damage, not intentional cruelty. Understanding this doesn't excuse the hurt, but it explains why waiting for her to acknowledge your pain is like waiting for rain in a desert. It's not coming, and the waiting will kill you before the thirst does. So what do you do with this pain that feels too big for your body? First, understand what's actually happening. The hurt isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Your brain is literally rewiring itself, dismantling neural pathways built around another person. This process is painful and disorienting. You're not weak for struggling, you're human, experiencing a legitimate form of withdrawal. The symptoms: insomnia, appetite changes, intrusive thoughts, physical pain in your chest. These aren't drama. They're documented neurological responses to attachment disruption. Here's where it hurts. The solution isn't what you think it is. You can't think your way out of this. You can't logic your way back to normal. The mind that's trying to solve this problem is the same mind that created it. Every solution it offers, get her back, prove her wrong, become someone else, is just another prison with better decorations. The real solution is so simple it feels insulting. You have to feel it, all of it, without story, without meaning-making, without transformation narratives, just the raw, humiliating human experience of being hurt by someone you chose to trust. But here's the shift nobody talks about. The moment you stop trying to handle her and start handling yourself, everything changes. Not because she notices she won't, not because the universe rewards your growth, it doesn't care, but because you finally stop abandoning yourself the way you're afraid she abandoned you. You stop negotiating with reality. You stop performing for ghosts. You stop trying to become someone worth loving and start becoming someone who doesn't need external validation to know their worth. This is where most advice goes wrong. They tell you to focus on yourself, to become the best version of yourself, to show her what she lost. But that's just another form of emotional dependency dressed up as self-improvement. Real healing isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming real. It's about admitting that you participated in your own hurt, that you saw the red flags and called them roses, that you confused intensity with intimacy, chaos with passion, anxiety with love. What would it mean to handle this situation with actual strength? Not the performative strength of pretending you're unaffected, but the quiet strength of admitting you're deeply affected and choosing to heal anyway. It means deleting her number not as a dramatic gesture, but as a practical boundary. It means feeling the urge to check her social media and choosing boredom instead. It means sitting with the discomfort of not knowing what she's doing, who she's with, whether she misses you, and realizing that not knowing is not the same as dying, even when it feels like it. The truth is, you're not actually trying to handle a woman who hurt you. You're trying to handle the part of yourself that still gives her permission to hurt you. Every time you replay the relationship, you're reopening the wound. Every time you imagine reconciliation, you're choosing fantasy over reality. Every time you check if she's viewed your story, you're handing her power she doesn't even want anymore. And that's when reality hits. She's not the one hurting you anymore. You are. You're the one keeping the pain alive, feeding it with attention, nurturing it with hope, protecting it from healing, because letting it heal means letting her go. And letting her go means admitting it's really over. Not maybe over, not temporarily over, over. The relationship, the future you imagined, the version of yourself you were with her, all of it over. This is the climax, the moment of reckoning that happens not in grand gestures, but in quiet kitchens at 3 a.m. When you finally stop scrolling, when you pour out the fourth cup of coffee, when you realize you've been investigating a crime where you're both the victim and the perpetrator. The chest pain isn't from her betrayal anymore. It's from your own self-betrayal. The insomnia isn't from missing her. It's from missing yourself. The person you were before you started shape-shifting. Before you made someone else's validation your oxygen. Before you confused being chosen with being worthy. You want to know how to handle a woman who hurt you? Here's the answer no one wants to hear. You don't. You handle yourself. You handle your tendency to abandon yourself for others' approval. You handle your addiction to potential over reality. You handle your fear of being alone by actually being alone, without distraction, without performance, without the constant noise of trying to be enough. You sit in the wreckage until you realize the wreckage isn't your home. You feel the hurt until it transforms from emergency to memory. You stop trying to win a game that ended months ago. The revelation comes not as lightning, but as dawn, slowly, then all at once. One morning, you'll wake up and realize you haven't checked her profile in 3 days. Not because you're strong, but because you forgot. You'll hear a song that used to destroy you, and it's just a song. You'll see a couple holding hands, and instead of pain, you feel nothing. Not numbness, peace. The neural pathways have finally rerouted. The addiction has loosened its grip. The story has lost its power. But here's the deeper revelation, the one that changes everything. She didn't leave you. She left the version of herself you reflected. And you? You're not grieving her. You're grieving the story you told yourself about what love looks like. The truth is, real love doesn't hurt like this. Real love doesn't require you to shrink yourself, to perform constantly, to earn what should be freely given. Real love doesn't leave you in kitchens at 3 a.m., scrolling through digital breadcrumbs, trying to piece together why you weren't enough. You were always enough. You were just enough for the wrong person. And she was exactly who she showed you she was. You just weren't ready to see it. You wanted the potential more than the person. You wanted the story more than the reality. You wanted to be chosen more than you wanted to choose yourself. So how do you handle a woman who hurt you? You realize she's already handled. She's gone, living her life, writing her own story, where she's not the villain and you're not the victim. The only person left to handle is you. The only story left to write is yours. And that story? It doesn't begin with her leaving. It begins with you staying with yourself, staying in reality, staying in the discomfort, until it transforms into strength. The practical truth is this: every moment you spend trying to understand why she hurt you is a moment you're not understanding why you let her. Every moment you spend waiting for acknowledgement is a moment you're not acknowledging yourself. Every moment you spend performing healing for her attention is a moment you're not actually healing. Delete the number. Not for her, she doesn't care. For you. Block the profiles. Not as punishment, as protection. Stop telling the story, not because it doesn't matter, because it matters too much to keep reliving. Feel the feelings. Not to process them, to prove you can survive them. Choose reality. Not because it's prettier than fantasy, because it's the only place where real healing happens. The truth about handling someone who hurt you isn't complicated. It's just hard. You don't handle them at all. You handle yourself. You handle your patterns. You handle your addiction to unavailable people. You handle your fear of being alone. You handle your tendency to confuse intensity with intimacy. You handle your need for external validation. You handle everything except her because she's not yours to handle anymore. She never really was. And maybe that's the coldest truth of all. The woman who hurt you? She was never the person you thought she was. That person existed only in your imagination, built from hopes and projections and carefully ignored red flags. The real her? She's exactly who she showed you in the end. Someone capable of hurting you. Someone willing to leave. Someone who chose herself over you. And instead of hating her for it, maybe it's time to learn from her. Maybe it's time to choose yourself too. The healing doesn't come from understanding why she hurt you. It comes from understanding why you stayed available to be hurt. It doesn't come from her acknowledging your pain. It comes from you acknowledging your participation in it. It doesn't come from becoming someone she would want. It comes from becoming someone you want to be, alone, without audience, without validation, without anyone else's permission. This is what handling heartbreak really looks like. Not the inspirational quotes, not the revenge body, not the strategic social media posts. It looks like Tuesday afternoons when you don't check your phone. It looks like Friday nights when you're okay being alone. It looks like random moments when you realize you haven't thought about her in hours, and that absence doesn't feel like loss. It feels like space. Space for you to finally exist without reference to someone else. Space to discover who you are when you're not trying to be loved. Space to realize that being alone isn't the same as being lonely, and being chosen isn't the same as being worthy. The woman who hurt you, she's gone. Let her go. Not because she deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. Not because she might come back, but because you need to move forward. Not because the pain doesn't matter, but because your life matters more than your pain. Stop handling her. Start handling yourself. Stop investigating the crime. Start rebuilding the life. Stop asking why she hurt you. Start asking why you're still hurting yourself. The answer to that question? That's where your real life begins. Because here's the final truth, the one that sounds like a greeting card but cuts like a blade. She didn't take anything from you that was truly yours. Your worth, your potential, your capacity to love. These things aren't transferable. They can't be stolen, only surrendered. And the moment you stop surrendering them to someone who's already left, that's the moment you stop being hurt by a woman who's already gone. That's the moment you finally handle the only person you ever really could, yourself. The truth is, you don't handle a woman who hurt you. You handle the man she left behind. And that man, he's been waiting for you to come back to him this entire time.